So clearly at this point, the last batch of individuals or the last batch, of the rescue operations, which just came out, as you see there, that machine, that crane is now has started to move, which means that now it's being lowered to take, the eighth group of individuals from underground. It just started being lowered down. It had just captured or retrieved 9 bodies. So unfortunately, let's start with that, Mr. Mgambi, but also we will be bringing in the Giwusa president, Mr. Sebei, to give us more clarity in terms of how and where we stand now in terms of those who are living, who are still alive, who were retrieved earlier on up until this point. But also just to get a general sense, now that the dust has settled, the ministers have visited, but it seems as if there's still no clarity in terms of, what will eventually be the end goal. What is it that these community members are really still, unclear about as far as these operations are concerned? But also at the end of the day, at the end of this 10-day period, what must happen? He joins me now. Dr. Sebei, thank you very much for your time. Say, general sense of where we are standing now in terms of those that are still living, but also how the operations have gone so far. You've been here since the morning. The ministers were here. What is your general sense?
Well, I think as of yesterday, we did note that the commencement of this operation is a qualitative turning point. We think today the operation has been much more efficient. I think you have seen that by midday, we had rescued basically almost, more than half of what was rescued yesterday. So it is also apparent just from the report we are getting. In actual fact, from the footage or those that are able to view the situation underground, the miners desperately want to come out. So much so that the concern now is a worry about the security of those that are rescuing them, because they are pushing each other, trying to get out because of the dire situation, the starvation, the hunger, and the fact that they're not even sure that how long this rescue effort will continue. Because remember, we had a rescue effort before and they were interrupted from time to time. So it is that desperation that is a cause for concern. But most important for us is the fact that they desperately want to come out. Yeah. And those that are coming out, their situation is very dire. I think one of them has collapsed. And it is very clear that unless there's an improvement in terms of medical attention, as well as support with regard to increased capacity, for beds in the hospitals, we are going to lose many more lives, even those that have been brought to the surface alive.
Let's talk about the communication in regards to the numbers and how they're attained. You've got your volunteers there, 2 gentlemen who are responsible for going down with the crane or with the makeshift lift there. So in terms of communication, are your members or your fellow comrades there that are volunteering themselves, are they the ones that are giving out the numbers? And what's the sense of police, or what's the sense of law enforcement in terms of distributing these numbers? How does it work at the site?
No, so yes, the 2 community volunteers, obviously they'll have the count, but they're not the ones that are tallying the numbers. We have the team there, partly, it's made up of the police who are processing every person who come on the surface and who are also counting. So we do have part of our people that are part of the brotherhood that are there. So we exchange notes, and the report is agreed by all parties in terms of these are the number of those that are coming out alive. These are the number of bodies that are being retrieved, because also the decision about where this load is going to be for the dead bodies, where this load is going to bring, living miners. All of those are discussed, but the numbers are tallied, and that's the report that we are constantly sharing with you and updating on our groups.
Okay. So we've been talking about these numbers. People have been coming out, but in terms of them being taken to relevant institutions, whether it's police stations or health facilities, how many remain on site, and how long do you think it takes for government to really, if maybe a group of 9 individuals that are still living, how long do they stay on site before they're taken to the relevant institutions? Because we're talking about such huge number here, but we've not seen many police vehicles transporting them out. What's happening there from what you've seen maybe?
It's just because, of all the lies, right? You have approximately 2,000 people that have come out of these mines in these areas. And I've challenged people to say, go to police station and look, where are these people? Many of these miners actually are released. right? Because once the police process them, they take fingerprints and they don't find any criminal record. And these minors don't have gold on them. It's difficult to charge them with anything, particularly if they are South Africans. Some of the migrants, they are being charged for lack of documentation, right? The issue, and I hear that the minister has said that this mine is not derelict and ownerless, which is part of the problem about the ability to bring the charge of trespassing, right? Now, if it's not derelict and ownerless, is this a picture of a mine that has an effective ownership by anybody, right? So they have not been, but what we have seen, and I think I've shared also on the group, is a very gruesome illustration of the bloodbath and the massive loss of life, which was the vents from forensic services, which is loading dead bodies. Yeah. So many of these miners are obviously taken by the emergency services. Okay. Some are released if they are fit to walk on their own, and that's it.
I mean, let's talk about now the issue of who must take responsibility. There was a debate, or there's still a debate, in terms of whether this mine is operational and has someone who can be held or be identified as a mine owner. In your engagements with government, did you at some point maybe try to locate whether indeed there is a Stilfontein mine group that is responsible for this mine, and what has been their attitude towards the entire operations in terms of funding, in terms of all the failures which have led to where we are today?
Look, so far, our findings are that actually the mine was at some point taken over by Val Menrief. Now, that is one of the unscrupulous mining companies that I know, right? And you just have to go and look at their reports. Their report shows that a lot of their directors are either having court cases pending, criminal charges against them, and so on. And the very fact that these are type of people that this government think they have to be managing mining in this country, but also that they continue to be issuing new licenses, it is simply despicable, right? But secondly, there's also many levels of accountability. There's mining industry, there's organized syndicates, there is police that have got to be responsible for everything that has happened.
In 1 minute, sir, give us your latest stats from what you know so far in terms of those who are still alive and those who have lost their lives generally, as I'm giving you that opportunity. So, Xoli, we are wrapping it now with Giwusa president. We're just trying to locate where we stand now in terms of the statistics. Where do we stand now, sir?
The latest is that today, 91 people were rescued alive, and 43 bodies were extracted. And of course, this in addition to yesterday, where 26 were rescued alive, and of course, 9 bodies were collected.
Thank you very much, sir.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you, sir. That's Giwusa president there, Xoli, just giving us an update in terms of where we stand today. But we do understand that the next 2 hours or so, we will still see more individuals coming out alive, or we will see more bodies being brought onto the surface under the leadership of the rescue experts, with those 2 volunteers who are going up and down with that shaft. That's where we are at this point, Mr. Mhlaba.